What's up guys, it's the NJB here, and today I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to survive a full slasher match. So this is particularly for maps that do not have like any glitch spots for you to hide from the slasher. This is for maps that are more open and places that you kind of really can't find a spot to hide or get away, and the slasher can really find you just by like running around and seeing you there. He doesn't have to try and like jump crouch or anything to try and get to you. So these are the tips. These also do work on maps with glitches, but this is mainly for maps without glitches because these maps are really harder to survive from the slasher, seeing that you really can't get away from him. So let's get into some of the tips. So the very first tip, this goes for any map you're playing, and this is always back away from your teammates during the beginning of the match when it's counting down. So you never know who's going to be slasher. You don't know if it's you, and you don't know if it's your teammate. So you can't really stand near your teammates. I mean, unlike in Infected in like some games, you can't kill the person who's slasher. You have to wait for them to become slasher, and you have to wait for them to be like you have to wait till you're the only survivor. So what you want to do is always like back away from a person. If you don't know how far away to be from them, just make sure you're out of their melee range, and you should be good. Once that happens, just shoot at them to freeze them, and then leave. So you do want to make sure that you're nowhere near like you do want to make sure you're not in like a narrow area where there's like no space to run. You always want to make sure there's lots of space around you for you to move around and for you to get away. And you want to make sure there's like probably like multiple exits from wherever you are so you can get away from him, and so you can kind of like confuse him because it is slower for him to like to get away and follow you once you shoot him and kind of stun him in a sense. So the next tip is kind of like just where you should hide and where you should be when the slasher is looking for you. So you always want to be somewhere that's kind of out of sight and kind of like not in an easy spot that they'd see. So you want to make sure that you're not in a spot where they just like run by, not even trying to get into a glitch or anything, and then they see you like crouching in a corner or like just prone in a bush. You really want to avoid that. So just be out of sight and try and make sure you have a way to always know where they're at if they're near you. If you don't know where they're at, then that may be a problem, but always keep them in sight. If you see them coming near you, if they're not looking at you, then kind of hide and move back into cover. But if they glanced at you, then you kind of want to assume they saw you. So it's kind of better just to move out in the open, but always like only do that if you got space to like move away from them. So once they get close enough to you, shoot them, and then you just run away. So if the slasher sees you, then don't second doubt it. Don't think that they might have like not seen you, they might have missed you. It's more likely that they saw you and they're gonna come for you, and they're probably acting like they don't see you. I mean, I've done that quite a few times with slasher. And if they see you, you kind of want to just shoot them when they come close enough, and you do that so like you have enough time to like get away from them. If you shoot them when they're like a bit away from you, then by the time you run by them, they're going to be able to be moving at full speed again, and it kind of defeats the purpose. And I'm pretty sure the slasher can move faster than a normal person, so you kind of want to just make sure that they're kind of stunned with your gunfire and then move away from them. And once you do that, just run. And with that, let's get into our next tip, and that's when you're running away from the slasher, do your best to kind of run in a straight line or somewhat straight. So if you keep running like zigzags or diagonal, if the slasher's running in a straight line, then eventually he can catch up to you. And sometimes if they're smart, they like if you're going into buildings and going upstairs or going in different rooms, they may kind of anticipate you, and they might try and like cut you off and get closer to you. So it's best to kind of move in like more of a straight line, so it's less of a chance for them catching up to you. And if you go in a building, make sure there's like literally only one way up there, or at least like one easy way up there. But you really want to make sure that there's kind of a hard way or only one way to get up to that building. And keep moving. Keep moving until you don't hear their footsteps or until you're sure you're out of sight. And the last tip for getting away from the slasher when there aren't any good spots to hide on the map, and this is to run towards your teammates. So I kind of wanted to say this for last because this is kind of a messed up thing to do, and it's kind of like a dick move. But running towards your teammates, it kind of distracts their attention. Most of the time, the slasher is not going to just keep chasing you individually. If they see multiple people there, they're going to go for whoever's closest and whoever they can get easier. And sometimes it may confuse them. So running towards your teammates is kind of a good way. You kind of want to move like towards the back or kind of like where like less of your teammates are. So and move away from the slasher so it's less likely for him to get you. And when he's getting your teammates, just leave, like just dip. I mean, there's most likely going to be some other teammates that are going to be running away too, and he's going to be confused and not know which one to choose, and most likely he'll avoid you. So you kind of want to do that. And now is the last tip. So as you saw right there, I did just wait for him to come up close. I shot at him and I just leave. I'm not going to look back because that really does slow you down. And you kind of want to just get into a spot where you can see him. Right here, he kind of waits for me to jump down, but it doesn't work. I kind of just get away from him. And you guys are going to kind of see in the gameplay. So for the most part, those are the tips. As I said before, these are mainly tips for maps that don't have any like good hiding spots or glitch spots for you to use. And yeah, that's basically it. So I don't know how this Days of Summer thing is doing, but I'm pretty sure we had prop hunt for probably about a week, I think. It's still under weekend warfare, but we're having it like for at least a week, so I'd have to check now. But they do keep bringing these game modes back. It's usually like prop hunt, slasher, and then something else, and then it kind of repeats. So they keep bringing these game modes back. I really hope they'll just like leave these game modes in the game or just keep them there. But so far, I don't think we're like that's gonna happen. So as long as they keep putting this like game mode back in the game, these tips and tricks should be relevant and it should be helpful. And remember, sometimes the best tips and tricks don't work. Sometimes the slasher, like whoever slasher, is really good and they just know how to stop you. So always bear that in mind. This slasher, like unlike prop hunt, you like there's really like not much you can do to stop the slasher. I mean, if there are people alive and then he sees you, a lot of the times he's gonna win. So you kind of have to deal with that. But yeah, so hopefully these tips and tricks will help you and improve your slasher game. The more you play it, the better you get. So you definitely want to do that. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. This has been the NJB, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll let the gameplay finish just so you can see how I kind of use these tips and tricks to help me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers, mates.
We going to the chateau. No love, no love, no love, no love. love, just fucking in a California cave. Baby, no love, no love, no love. No love, no love, no love.